Hey, let's say we simply have two input fields like your email and password. So let's say if a user tries to submit your form without filling your email and the password, then he will get a validation message. See, he needs to fill out the email as well as in the proper formatting. Then again, after filling the email, let's say if a user tries to submit without filling the password, then again, he will see the validation message that this field needs to be filled as well. Then again, we have one more validation message, that is the minimum length of this password should be beyond 6 characters. Then only he can submit the form after properly filling out the email and the password. And the interesting part, this thing is achieved only using HTML without the use of JavaScript. So in this video, I'll show you some of the most powerful attributes in HTML that will help you to validate your forms in a much better way. So let's start the video. So let's start with the first one, that is simply your required attribute. So let's say we simply have a form like your two input fields with email and password. And now if a user visits your website and he simply leaves this two fields blank and then he tries to submit this, see, your form is getting submitted without having any data in these two fields. So that is not a good practice, right? So to force the user to fill the data first in these two input fields, then only he can submit the form. You need to simply use a required attribute. So here we have our input field, that is type email. So simply give the required attribute. So now see, now if a user tries to submit, first he needs to fill this input field that is for your email. But again, without filling the password, he submitted the form. So again, the same thing for your password input field. So here we have type password, simply again the required attribute. Now let's say, see, now without the password, he cannot submit the form. He needs to fill this field as well. See, so this was the first attribute. So now let's see the second attribute, that is your min and max. So let me tell you, these two attributes are simply used for your numeric, like your type number, type date, type range, and there can be many more. So let's take an example of this as well. So now let's say, instead of this, you simply have an input field for your age. So for age, your type would be simply number. So now we simply have age and we got the option of adding numbers, right? So let's say you have some criteria for your form, like you want the user to be at least, let's say 6 years of age minimum and should not be more than 25 years of age. So what you can do simply, so now we don't have any criteria. So to add that criteria, you simply need to have this min attribute. So let's say the minimum age of the user you want to be 6. So this will start from 6 only. See, it's not going beyond 6. And again, you want the age should not be exceeding more than 30, let's say. So that time, the max attribute with the value, or let's say 25. So now this age will start from 6 and will not go beyond 25. It means now we have set a criteria that minimum age should be 6 and maximum should be 25. So this way the users between this age range will only be able to fill the form. So this was the second attribute, that is simply your min and max. And you can try this with this type, date, range and all. So now let's understand the third attribute, that is simply your min length and max length. So this works for your text-based inputs, like the type would be text, password, email, and phone number and all. So I'll show you the example of type password first. So let's say instead of this age input, you simply have an input field for password. So we simply got a input field for our password. So now if you want to set a criteria of password, let's say you want a minimum length of passwords to be 6 or maybe to be 5. So now one can simply have any number of passwords like any characters and simply submit. And let's say you have set a limit of or maybe the minimum criteria, that is min length should be, let's say, 6. Now let's say if a user have only 3 characters and tries to submit, see, he got a validation message. So it says it should be beyond 6 characters. So now we have 6 characters. See, a form got submitted, right? So this way you can set this criteria for having a strong password, right? So now let's have the example of this max length for your phone numbers. So let's say again, we simply have input field for phone number. So we simply got an input field for our phone number. So now let's say the user will simply fill the phone number. So what a user can do, he can simply fill any numbers without caring about the length of the phone number, and still the form will get submitted. So that is not a good thing. There should be a maximum length for your phone number, as you cannot have more than 10 digits, right? So that time you need to use this attribute, that is simply your max length. You can simply set this to 10. So now the user cannot enter more than 10 digits. See, even if I trying to enter more digits, it's not working. Now the phone number will get entered in proper format. That is a valid format, right? So this was the use of min length and max length. So now let's understand the regular expressions. So these are the most important things for your form validation and mostly asked in interviews as well. So let's understand this as well. And let me tell you about one more interesting attribute, that is simply your title attribute. So what it does, so let's say you simply have here, so as you have your password and we have set a length of minimum length to 6. So let's say if I give the title as simply as minimum length 6 allowed. So what is the use of this? It will simply, upon hovering, see, it will simply show the message that you type. Like it says, minimum length 6 allowed. See, it's kind of showing your validation messages that a user needs to follow, right? And the same for, let's say here we have maximum length 10. So we can simply give title to max length 10 allowed. Then again, here you will see. So it says maximum length 10 allowed. So now let's understand our regular expression. So let's say instead of this, we simply have our username. So for that, so we simply have input field for our username. So now the username can be anything. So now the user can enter any name in this username field. and simply submit the form. So in many websites, you might have seen that you are allowed to have only some kind of usernames. Like some says uppercase not allowed, or maybe some doesn't allow the numbers as well. So here we will have that kind of validation as well. So what you need to do, simply you need to use the attribute that is simply pattern. And then inside the pattern, you need to simply give an expression as, let's say, what it says, and you can also give a validation message to the user with the help of this title attribute. So here the validation is for, as here we have 3 to 12, so it says the length should be, username length should be between 3 to 12 characters. And here as we have small a, small z, so it means lowercase. And we also have 0 to 9, so it says lowercase alphabets or numbers allowed. So now let's say, to see, upon hovering, it shows a validation message that 3 to 12 characters allowed, and it should be lowercase alphabet or numbers. So let's try to have capital A, then simply 2, and we need to use required attribute as well. See, first, empty field cannot be submitted. Then again, if I enter uppercase, it says, please match the requested format. Then with the validation message. Then again, if I enter some character other than our regular expression, that is this, we again see the validation message. Now if I enter, see, it again does not allow a user to submit without matching this character limit as well. So now let's say, if I try to enter, let's say simply the correct format. See, our form got submitted quite nicely, right? So this way you can add plenty of regular expressions, and you can find that on any websites. You don't need to learn all the regular expressions. You just need to understand what is the use of those expressions. So yes, that's it for this video. Hope you all understood about the powerful attributes in HTML. So see you all in the next one. Till then, take care.